Hello, my name is Jeff Bull. I am Chair of the Westport Landing Commission, and this is our monthly meeting. And we have enough people for a quorum. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, as there is a flag here. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the next item on our agenda is we always announce that this commission is supposed to have 5 members, all right?
Yep.
And there's only 4 right now, and 1 person is absent. So it would be great if someone out in TV land or in the general public wants to be a landing commissioner. And you would get appointed. So it's a small commitment, just until next April, when there would be an election, at which point you could choose to continue. Well, you could run for election. It's sometimes pretty heated, tough. And if someone out there in TV land wants to be a landing commissioner, you would write a note to the board, the select board, and they might ask you to come in and tell them why you want to be a landing commissioner. So please do. The next item is we've had an offer to donate a bicycle rack for Westport Point. Would you like to come talk to us about that?
Hi, I'm Kristen Fenley from Westport Sea Farms, and I would like to donate a bike rack down to the Westport Point. When they were discussing paving it, I spoke with Jim and I said, if that does end up happening, I would love to donate a bike rack, knowing how many bikers come down there. So I am here to make good on that.
Okay.
I was asked to pick out a bike rack, so I do have one here with sizing on it and everything. I am up for discussion on that. It is made of recycled material. I was worried that if we had a metal one down there, it may rust and not last as long. So I did use that. I do use that similar product at Westport Sea Farms, and it holds up really well. It's easy to clean. It's easy to maintain. I chose a 10 bike capacity. I felt like anything smaller might have overflow, because I find that people that are biking kind of come in their groups. So I picked that, but again, up for discussion. I picked gray. There's 4 other colors.
Pardon me?
I picked gray, but there's 4 other colors to
okay.
pick from. Yeah.
And I know we communicated a little bit via email. I asked you to suggest where it might go.
Yes, so I did walk around several times and looked at it. There is a spot in the parking lot that's not a parking spot. It's like a square that's been marked out. I think that would be a reasonable place to put it. It's out of the way of the cars. It's out of the way of sidewalks. There isn't a ton of space down there in general, so that seemed like a reasonable spot. It's 20 by 20. This is a fraction of that. I mean, you could probably fit 4 bike racks in that space, but I think you only really need 1.
Is that the
That's 2 parking spaces.
northeast corner,
Yeah.
shall we say?
It's the,
It's the northeast one.
yeah,
It's a good spot, but you know what we have also is we've got that whole strip right along there that's the space that's between Bob Haynes's and the parking lot. That
That's our-
grassy area.
we own that, and that's our parking lot.
No, this isn't the part that,
You're talking about like the grass mound.
no, I'm not
Oh.
talking about that.
Oh, where are you talking?
No, I'm talking along the, what would be the east side, but not that part. Further down by where you're talking about right now, which logically would be a good spot, except for it's 2 places for cars to park. So when
I'm sorry, I'm not clear what you're talking about.
that dead area,
Are we talking about the bridge abutment?
no, we are not at all.
Okay,
No.
we're talking about, so we're back to talking about the northeast corner.
We're
The
back
square.
to talking about the northeast corner, but not the square, the lawn that runs along there,
Where the anchor used to be.
kind of where the anchor used to be.
Okay. So you think that might be a spot?
Well, I think that would be, because if you put it in the logical spot, the one you suggested, that's two car spaces that people use.
Who uses that?
People that are going to like Haynes's Marina or something like that, you know,
I've only ever seen your car there.
there's cars there a lot.
What you're saying is the square gets used currently?
It gets
Is it
used by a lot
striped
of
so that
people.
it's not supposed to be?
It's not striped, but it's two car spaces. And with parking the way it is, it's, you know, that's valuable real estate. Two people
Sure.
can park there.
Yep.
So although that's a logical and good spot for it, because you can park cars there, I was thinking that on the lawn that abuts that would be a better spot.
Uh-huh.
The aggravating part is that, you know, the bicycles have to kind of like, well, they would anyway, they kind of have to go around the cars.
Sure. Where do bikes go now?
Every which way. They lean them against the cement wall. They put them in actual parking spots. They lean them against my building, which is okay with me, but wherever they feel like it.
And are you able to, I mean, they're not necessarily all your customers, I understand.
So I
not
think the people that
everybody-
come and put their bikes on my property are most definitely mine. But people that are leaving them out in the parking spots on the roundabout are not mine. Mine usually actually try to bring them right into the patio, and we just don't allow that, so we have them put it in our parking spots. They put them wherever. But it's gonna be mixed, so like, not all the bikers come to see me.
Right, okay. Do you have thoughts about this?
I'd just kind of like to see, I know we have a couple of diagrams on file of the parking area. I'm trying to picture it in my
Sure.
head and not doing a good job of it. So I'd kind of like to look at that. You said, you've got the dimensions there. You said it's 20 by 20?
The
square.
The square
Square.
is 20 by 20. There's lots of space there. I'm not opposed to putting it where Brenda suggested. My only concern with that is that it's on grass, and I know that people are very.
Right. We could put some.
Attached to their bikes?
Yeah, we might put something underneath it, though. Maybe we could just put gravel underneath, a little space for it.
Some of those places actually have pavement underneath them,
That's true.
oddly.
Yeah.
You dig up the grass.
Yeah, there was pavement there at one time.
Oh, yeah. I guess my feeling about this is, and I was at some of the meetings that, one of which you were at, where we were talking about the press about parking there and how it gets crowded, and how we were encouraging the three people who have, I don't know exactly, they're not special permits, but the ability to have a business down there. Part of having a business down there is that those businesses agreed to provide parking for their customers.
Yep.
And from my personal perspective, part of that is actively encouraging their customers to use their parking first, so the public who
So-
aren't going there, if I may finish,
Yeah.
can use the other parking places, because there is a serious safety issue when people park in the roundabout, and it's problematic to be ticketing people. I spoke with an assistant harbor master about that today. And it's definitely a safety issue when people start parking up the road. Half of the items on our agenda today are about parking problems. It's a big, growing issue in this town that we are being forced to deal with. And I think we really need to be somehow encouraging those three businesses, of which you're one, to actively use your parking first. I happened to be down at the Point yesterday. There were 2 spots being used in your parking lot.
Yesterday was one of our slowest days of the year because it rained. So I wouldn't use yesterday as
I
a
expect
good
that one of them was
indication.
one of your cars.
I'm sure it was. Before I was open, I definitely was down there.
Well, this was during lunchtime. There were 8 tables.
So at
you
lunchtime,
had
I was
8
dropping my daughter off for work.
Well,
I'm not really going to argue about where I park my
I
car
know,
down
but you
there.
had 8 customers. You were only using 2 parking places. This is not, I'm not targeting you here. We asked another business down there to move an anchor so that he could more actively use his parking, because he's required to potentially park 14 customers on his property. before they start using public property. I just want you to be aware, this is an ongoing problem that potentially impacts the future of your business.
So I think that I'm not understanding why this is coming up. So I'm here to donate a bike rack.
I
If you don't
appreciate
want
that.
the bike rack, I have no problem with that. When it comes to parking, I am the only business down there that has signs up that says Westport Sea Farms parking. I do encourage, I constantly ask people to move up there or say, oh, there's spots up there. Yes, I'm allowed to use those spots as well.
I'm aware of that,
Yes,
at the moment.
my own spots on my own property.
Oh, on your own property forever. Certainly.
Correct. So I'm here because I'm trying to donate a bike rack. If that's something you don't want, I didn't need to come. You asked me to come to talk about the bike rack.
Right, but I'm concerned to put the bike rack on the grassy area, that would compromise Mr. Haynes' zoned
I
parking.
did not suggest putting it on the
I know,
grassy
but someone
area.
else did.
But-
Someone else did.
Well,
But part of that isn't his property. That's
Right.
why I suggest it, because it is not his property. It is town property.
I
that
understand.
grassy area is town property, and if he's using it, then he needs to be renting it from the town, just as any other, on our other landings, we have people renting space on our other landings. We cannot say that's exclusively his area if he's not renting it as we have agreed with other properties in town.
I appreciate what you're saying. I think if you were to look at the video of the meeting we had about asking Mr. Haynes to move his anchor,
I said at that meeting that he needed to rent it. I
that
believe if you
that that's
watch that.
something we could certainly consider. I don't
It's,
know
it, we
exactly how
can't,
we would go
we
about
can't
that.
give him, just because he moves something off public property, doesn't give him the right to use that public property.
I fully appreciate that. I am just saying, I want the businesses down there to be aware, and I'm glad you came in, and I'm sorry that this got patched on top of your bike rack idea. I apologize for that. But this is becoming a huge issue in town, and for the future of your business is something, I mean, it may be that you and Mr. Haynes, who are sort of the more active people, need to offer valet parking such that you could park people in
So
on
if
your
you'd like to
property.
talk about the parking, I think we should have a separate meeting because I only came to talk about the
Sure,
bike
I
rack.
apologize,
Right, I agree.
but
Bike rack.
personally,
I agree.
I can't figure out an exact location myself right now because I'm concerned about the businesses down there actively using their own parking and figuring out a way to really encourage their customers to do that before it becomes a problem for people who just want to be down there on their own. That's my concern, given that 3 other items on this agenda today are about parking and how we're going to control it.
Okay. Well, I still would love to donate the bike rack. I
Mm-hmm.
will leave that out there. If you guys decide you want that, just reach back out to me. I will be happy to purchase it, and you guys can put it where you please. I don't really mind where it goes as long
Okay.
as it's useful to people.
Great.
So I have another thought, and this is not landing commission property. But as I've said before, there is a 4-foot right-of-way along Quarry's Dock that leads to the end of that dock, which is, if that's 20 square feet, you said
That square is, yeah.
it's more like 40 square feet.
You're
or
talking
maybe
about
even-
Corey's, are you talking about the Lynch property?
So, where the Leach Building is, the Wharf House,
Mhm.
between the Wharf House and what was Leach's Marina
Mhm.
is a dock. And that dock was put there by the original Isaac Corey, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And at some point, and it was not that long ago, the town codified, I don't know how you'd put it, but they have a right-of-way to the end of that dock, which is not used, it's collapsing, it's a beautiful dock, has a beautiful west view. And it's just overgrown, but the town has a right-of-way to it and a 4-foot right-of-way, so you could actually put a bicycle rack down there.
Oh.
And a couple of benches, it would be lovely. I know that, Eve has a chain across it, but that doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean that she owns it.
Is that being maintained, though? Is it being, like,
No.
mowed or anything?
was.
Is that
I
when it's
was-
town property?
I actually
It is
walked,
town property, but nobody, it's like a lot of other things, no one's ever pushed
Is it
it.
a right-of-way or is it town property?
It's
Is it-
right-of-way, but it's a town, it's the right-of-way for us to cross, we the people to cross.
Right, right-of-way means you have the right to cross and recross over it.
Right, but the end of it, I think we have the right to sit on it and do it.
That would have to be clarified, and the fact is, usually a right-of-way gives you the right to pass and repass over. It does not give you the right to put anything permanently there.
Okay, well, there's documentation of it when SciTech did the, they did the
Terminus survey and so forth,
the
right?
survey, that was kind of like highlighted
well,
as
this
one
sounds
of
like a
those
great
things.
opportunity. Rather than take too much time, it sounds like we need to
Right.
get some documentation. I was actually, when I was down there yesterday, I walked that right away because I'm aware, despite the chain, there's a sign that says public right-of-way hidden in the bushes. And then signs all around it that say private, so it's a little unclear. So why don't we look into that? That might be a great opportunity to also expand public use of that space, should that, I'm going to call it a pier, because it's not really a
Okay.
dock, it's a filled pier. And actually, it was mowed, except the end was not mowed.
Right, because there's other
building
existing
fell down.
issues. The building fell down,
Right.
so the response to the building falling down is not to take the building away, it is to mow the lawn.
I see, okay. Well, maybe we could table, can you leave this with us?
Yep, and you guys can just reach out if you decide it's something that you want to go
Mhm.
for.
I like the idea of putting a bike rack
I
down
do
there.
too.
People
I think
that
it's a
would-
very generous
I
gift.
can envision that people would, having spent many years down there myself, that it's a place that people come to. They love to walk up and down the fishing docks and,
Mhm.
they always walked around the wharf and, and so forth, and they'd come, walk in and out and around the place. And just, it's a destination, get off the bike, have a soda or, they'll be drinking water. The bicyclists will be drinking water or a Powerade or something. And just get a little refreshment and stretch their legs before they bike back to where they came from. And I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
And there is so much traffic, meaning foot traffic and bicycle traffic and people walking their dogs. It would be
Good.
kind of nice to,
And are these quickly available?
So I have found in the past, they do take quite a bit of time. It's usually
Yeah.
about a 6-week lead,
Okay,
but I do think we're going into the colder months, so,
right.
we have time.
right?
Yeah, I think,
I
yeah,
think
at this
so.
point, it's probably something more for the spring.
But, I mean,
Okay.
it's weather resistant, so as soon as you're ready, you
Yeah,
could
but
order it and it
sun
could go
chews
in.
on, sun chews on plastic, so we could look forward to maybe a spring,
Yeah.
early spring install or something.
Yeah.
And that'll give us a chance to research this wharf, and
Yeah.
it might be an enormous opportunity, even for your customers to.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't realize any of that, and I do think Brenda has a great idea, like, eventually, there's lots of people that are just hanging out down there and on a date or just walking
Yeah.
around.
Well,
just
and the other
walking
thing
kids
about it
around.
is, that part that we have access to it's in disrepair. And again, that's probably one of the more picturesque pieces
yeah.
of property in the entire town.
Right,
And
well-
it's a shame to see
Sure,
what's happening to it.
yep,
And it would be an opportunity to at least kind of fortify, if it's possible.
and there might be grant
No,
money.
there's-
Hey,
And like I say, it depends on what the right-of-way is entitled
Exactly.
to, whether we
Yes.
have
Yes,
the right to maintain, whether it's just simply the right to pass and repass over. So it depends on how it's all,
Yep,
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but if that does turn out to be something that's worthwhile, and you did want bunches, I would also be happy to donate those, 'cause I think it only helps the point,
sure,
yeah,
yep,
thank you.
good,
of course.
all right.
All right, and
Thank
you have a
you.
copy of that, I'm gonna keep a
Yes.
copy of this.
Thank you
All
for
right,
coming
very
in,
much.
appreciate it.
you.
Moving right along, a little library.
now this is at the watershed, but is it Oh, your watershed.
Yes. Yes, I'm the lead environmental educator at the Westport River Watershed Alliance. So I had the idea a while ago to possibly put in a little free library because we've had a couple like book events at the Watershed Alliance that had great attendance, and it seems like a lot of people have a desire for environmental literature and science-based literature in the area. And we'd love, I mean, our organization's all about giving access to being excited about the nature around you and giving access to education when we can. And so I think this would just be another way for us to give that access without even having to actually physically be there, and just allowing it to be open to the public.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I've seen several of these around, you see them in Dartmouth, a lot of little areas. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm
I know
assuming,
exactly what to do with my old copy of Silent Spring.
Perfect.
I'm
We'd love it.
assuming from this, I mean, you've got a big red circle that
Yes.
includes the sidewalk. I'm assuming that you want to put it in the
In
dirt,
the dirt, yes.
sort of just at this corner, kind of
Yes, yes,
X marking that spot.
yes, yes.
So I'm curious, why are you even here? Why are you asking our permission?
Well, I'm aware it's within
We're
our.
a tough group, I understand, but
I don't wanted to give you the courtesy of like asking your permission and
Okay.
seeing if it's something you'd be totally on board with or kind of
Mhm.
against, just kind of getting your sense.
yeah, I don't think it'll create traffic problems.
Okay,
Yeah,
It's your property,
yeah,
you can kind of do it, kind of
right,
what you want.
right. I just wanted to double check,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
Just making sure.
I mean, that's actually our property that you rent from
Right,
us.
right.
I don't think we're going to renegotiate your lease based on this, but I don't know. It's more of a selectman thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not even sure we need a,
a vote on it, I just,
Do you want to vote
a
anyway?
vote
Because
of
you like to do
approval.
that.
Yes, I make a motion that we approve the idea of the little library at the WRWA.
I second that emotion.
Perfect, thank you. Oh, sorry.
it's been moved and seconded that we approve the idea of a little library on
Awesome.
the property. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So
you.
it's unanimous. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in. We do appreciate being part of the process. I was just like giving you a hard time because you're young.
It's a
Alright.
very dry sense.
Yes,
It's that Hawaiian sense of humor.
Thank you.
thank you.
Update on paid lawn mowing contract. I have been trying to occasionally check up on our lawn mowing thing. He is mowing less than we asked him to, but it seems to be working out. It means it's costing us less. I was concerned that certain areas of the landing, particularly the ones that flood badly this past week, were not getting mowed at all. I haven't had a chance to be up there, but one of the things that's been proposed in the past is some of that area that floods, we may want to let it go to taller grass or something anyhow, even though that would limit the public space and change things dramatically. People said that more of the polluting stuff that washes off the road might be better if there was
What kind
taller
of,
grass.
is it wild grass or is it domestic grass that we're talking about?
It is grass, it is old grass, so I doubt that it was ever planted as lawn. It is just what it is.
Okay.
It's what survives there. But it does survive, well, it's almost a rice paddy a lot of the time. 'Cause
Right.
It's really, I don't know if you've walked there, but take rubber shoes, it is spongy. And sometimes when they do mow, if it is dramatically too spongy, they have permission to sort of avoid some of the really wet spots, because otherwise there get ruts and people have to go in
I
with,
think it's a good
and
thing to leave.
tow the machine out. So, so I think it's something to be thinking about for the future. It may be that we can go back to the watershed if they have an expert about
Right.
what might be better. But at the same time, it does look kind of nice when it's clear and open, so, and if we were to let it go to 2 or 3 feet and then mow it without baling it, it'd be ugly, because you'd have a lot of dead grass on top. So I think it's complicated, so, but I don't know if Tim's Lawn Care has baling ability or gathering it, so it's something to think about, I think, for the future. But at the moment, it's going well, it seems.
Could we maybe talk to an environmental group and maybe plant something in there, have them plant something in there like I don't know, eelgrass? My backyard is a lot like that.
Yep.
I mean, part of it is still kind of natural.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have wild lavender, and I've got some, beautiful things growing in there.
It's certainly
You
something.
can't walk on it because it's spongy.
Yeah, it's certainly something to think about, and I think it'd be a larger conversation at some point that, so,
I'm just trying to think, where exactly are you saying this area is?
basically on the east side. In other words, there's a steep berm, and then there's the constructed wetland.
Okay,
Well, it's that flat area is regularly, at, I would say, half of the high tides, it gets very wet. Not necessarily over the height of the grass, but extraordinarily wet, and it rarely gets used. The other thing that we're facing is that the area on the other side of the slipway, between the kayak shop and the slipway, is so wet and spongy that people kind of stay up by the sidewalk to walk back down to
Right.
it. So there's a lot to be thought about there as far as the future.
okay.
Landscaping.
So if you're going by there, it's something to think about.
Go for a walk up
I
there.
think it's rare that this area that I'm talking about, that is south of the paved slipway, except River Day, I rarely see anybody using that.
Mm. I know, yep,
But if there was 5-foot sawgrass, it would change the vista dramatically.
right.
So, a lot to be thought about there.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
this doesn't say what property you're talking about. What is
Oh, the head of
It's-
Westport,
Head landing,
the head landing.
Oh, you're talking,
yeah.
I'm talking about the head landing.
Yeah, for the first few minutes, forget my ignorance, I thought you were talking about Hicks Bridge.
yeah.
No, no, Hicks Bridge is
Yeah.
getting mowed every 2 weeks, and that seems adequate.
Mm.
We had hoped, there is a bench available to us that was an extra one from the senior center that's at the highway department, and then there were benches, or many benches and picnic tables that were potentially available to us when they recently rehabbed the playground here. So I checked, though, with the recreation director, and she is going to be using those. So I need to get back to the highway department and ask them to go ahead and install the bench that's available to us, which they're able to do. Let's see here. I think since we happen to be talking, well, why don't we move along to the next item? We'll get back to the bench in a moment. Let's jump to 9. We started on the bench. I did meet with the select board last night, and we are in the process of figuring out the procedure for how you turn a no parking road into a parking one side of the road, but My sense was the select board was generally open to the idea of having parking there that would be permit parking. So, and it may be that they'll be able to act upon that at their next meeting. I don't know, but the town administrator is looking into the procedure for changing something from no parking to some parking.
And it's not actually parking on the road because we're gonna move the boulders back so that it would be off the road somewhat.
It's
It's-
still in the layout.
Oh, yes.
It's still in the layout, so
Yeah.
it's still, apparently you still have to do the procedure. So we're starting that process.
Sounds
So
good.
perhaps by by this fall, it'll be usable. It's a lovely spot, and I'm very excited for the same reason about your suggestion about the wharf, Quarry's Wharf.
Scenic places, public access.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. It's like, let's use this if it's really available to us. I mean, we might have to fence it so people don't go into the scary dock areas, but
Well, it wouldn't, I shouldn't say.
Actually, it's not something we would actually have a say on anyway, because the landing commission doesn't own over there.
right.
So we
Yeah,
don't,
but we
yeah,
could
we can make a
encourage-
recommendation to.
And bring it to the attention of the select board.
Mm.
Signage.
Signage, and I spoke with the sign, number 8 on the sign people, and the signs are halfway painted, so I may be calling you soon when the signs arrive, and someone can help me meet at the sign locations and say, hey, this feels good, put them here, please. So you may be hearing from me in the next week or two for a sign install field trip.
Okay.
My sense is we can go ahead and put a sign at the Hicks Bridge. I should stop calling it the grassy knoll, I guess. Where we're going to put the bench, whether the
Scenic
parking ends up
overlook.
being approved or not. People could ride bikes there.
Oh, that might be a good place for a bike ride.
So backing up to item 6, I have had a request.
Now, where's that signage?
I have had a request from a property owner on Upper Drift Road that people who appear to live in vans are now spending the night at the landing. So there is a fine for overnight parking of, I think it's $5, which we might want to go to think about at next town meeting, increasing that fine. But the police have been at the moment reluctant to ticket people because it's not signed. So if we want to limit overnight parking, it may be that we could have 2 signs with arrows that say no parking between signs, so that we don't have to, because sometimes you have to have a sign every 12 feet, which would be ugly. So I can go ahead with investigating with the police about the idea if we want.
No, you're talking Hicks Bridge Landing,
No, I'm talking about the head.
the head there, there's people parking.
People, and I've actually seen the truck, they're sort of spending the day down at Gooseberry and spending the nights. I am aware that there's a growing homeless problem. I don't know if these people would be called homeless or just permanent campers. I don't know what the town's position is as that crisis spills over, because the cities of Fall River and New Bedford are starting to push back about folks camping and living in trucks in Fall River. So I think that it's something this town needs to be aware of, and we may want to be trying to send some message so it doesn't become a growing problem.
Well, that's an interesting point. There is a person that's been for years parks overnight on Westport Point. They're not a homeless person, they're a person who comes in the summertime, they live in a trailer, they go off during the day.
They live in a trailer?
It's a, it's,
Did
oh,
They sleep at
it's
the
not,
point?
It's like a camper or
it's
something?
like, thank you, it's a
like
camper.
a van?
It's a
like-
camper van.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's not causing any trouble, but that is a good point, that, you know, if you're only ticketing somebody $5 for parking overnight in your parking lot, pretty soon, you're gonna have a lot of people parking in your parking lot
In that
because
parking lot because
because,
it's supposed to
you know,
allow more to
pe- people go online and look for parking lots. They have, you know, they have special sites, and they go, like, you know, you could wake up and have 5 cars
Mhm.
parked down there. Because to rent space, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
probably $25, $50, might be
Yeah.
100, I don't know
This
what it
is certainly a
costs.
larger issue than just the landing commission.
Yes, Yes, it
And it's
is.
something that I don't know if towns can just have a sign as you drive into town, no overnight parking on any roads. I have no idea, but I think it's something that would be wise for me to bring to the chief of police and the select board about our concerns, and what do we do about it? Because I know it's difficult for the police to break someone away from police duties, for example, and drive down to Westport Point, just even to write a $50 ticket is difficult to get them to show up, because they're busy doing other kinds of police duty that's probably a little more critical, and they have limited people power.
correct.
But I think it would be wise for us to think about this and at least consider the idea of 2 signs, but I'm not sure 2 signs would be adequate as far as the enforceability. I am told that daily, 1 or 2 people walk into this building to contest parking tickets, mostly that are beach permit parking tickets, that it's regular, and because some people know the exact law of how many signs, and they contest them and they make some noise, and they are forgiven sometimes. So I would suggest that we consider, 1, raising the fee, but I expect it's a town meeting thing, because it's sort of in our, I've seen it printed in an old document, so I assume that that's not something that we can just blithely change.
No, we could propose it for the next town meeting or whatever, or come up with an article and ask the selectmen to put it on the next town meeting. But, I think as far as the signage that we're talking about here, I think we need to, before we order any signs, like no parking between signs, or how we need to do it, whatever we, you know, we want to make sure that whatever we propose, the police department would be willing to enforce.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that- Yeah.
So,
And we still have a serious ongoing issue on the point with people parking literally in the road.
mhm.
There's nothing. I mean, you've got that one thing that looks like the Great Mandela
Mhm.
that's in a V, but it's supposed to be a roundabout. People don't pay any attention to that. They go whichever way they want to go.
Mhm.
And then they park right beside the telephone pole, and that is in the road.
Mhm.
And that becomes easily very dangerous because, you know, if somebody's putting a boat in the landing, they've got, and, you know, they've got their truck and their boat, they're trying to get around a car now to get back around. It's just been, it's total ignorance, but there's no sign there. There's nothing that says, you know, fire, road,
Fire
whatever. you know,
lane or-
Fire lane, you know, something
Or
that's,
keep
that,
keep right of the,
Well,
you know,
when
there
I-
is nothing there
Okay.
that explains to anybody that that is not a place where you can park. And likewise, in front of Leach's, no one has ever just painted on the road, no parking this side, because that too is in the road. I mean, if you park one car there, it is in the road.
Right.
There is no
Well,
parking.
There are signs that say no parking this side of the road.
No, but there isn't anything down that far because there's nothing to nail it to.
Oh,
So they've never put, they have it, the last one is,
okay. Well, I will, when I am speaking with the police and the town administrator about our larger concern, 1, about this immediate issue with Drift Road, we can also talk about possibly striping in front of Leach's, and, I mean, maybe,
think it
it
just
maybe
needs-
needs to be striped completely around the center
it-
telephone pole.
The thing of it is, people park on the striping. They look at those yellow stripes and they go, oh, this must be preferred parking, and they park right there.
Okay, well, maybe it could
Because
say,
unfortunately, yeah, that's one of those things that, I mean, we can ask them to look at it.
Mhm. Okay, I'll see, because I'm sure that there's parking experts that try to figure this out. I think the other thing that sort of, and I apologize to her again if she's not here, that around the bike rack thing, it does occur to me that as Westport grows, there's more people that want to use the facility. It's quite possible that the two active businesses there may have to have somebody valet parking. I mean, it's not out of the question because it is rare that the spots are filled at the two businesses that actively use parking. I mean, I rarely see, and part of that goes back to, are we gonna have a contract with Haynes for big parking partially on town land? Because that is pretty much what we talked about when we asked him to move the anchor. That
Right. And they're
his
not parking
commitment
there.
was to park people in, because he effectively has valet parking there where allegedly people leave their keys inside some door, and somebody can somehow, if someone has parked someone else in, they can move each other's cars. But I'm not down there on weekends, I don't see this happening, but I think that the businesses down there need to be aware that this is a growing concern. It's certainly not out of the question that that could become town resident parking at some point, and think about how that would change things for those businesses.
Well, and that's another thing, you know, the more people that put in legal, I shouldn't say legal, Title V septic systems, the fewer parking spaces there are in people's yards, because you can't drive on your septic system.
Right.
So that means people who used to park off-street in their yards, they're no longer doing that, so they're parking on-street. And then somebody else shows up, they go, oh, I can squeeze in here right behind them. Oh, is it in somebody's driveway, or is it blocking something? Well, I won't be there that long.
Yeah, so it's a growing issue. We are, to some extent, an abutter to the issue, but we're also responsible for ensuring public access. So, again, I think we'll have to go back to the select board and the town administrator and the police department about all these issues, because I'd like to, as much as we can, stay ahead of the problem. And, you know, it helped, I've heard that it helped to pave and stripe the parking lot, but it sounds like, because you're there, and I
These are
appreciate you
tweaking.
being
These are
here,
little things.
that it hasn't fixed the situation, so. I think,
Yeah, it's not gonna fix the situation just by putting, you know, it clarified a lot of the parking down there instead of when it was half gravel, half paved and stuff like that. People weren't sure, and so they were parking this way, that way,
Yeah.
every which way. It helped, but it's not gonna solve it. There isn't enough parking down there, and that's reality.
That's reality. You can't
Yeah,
make
but-
it bigger.
But valet parking fixes that, because people can be parked in, which dramatically increases
That
it.
would be great, except for where's the valet going to park the cars? There's
Well,
one parking, there's one.
at the Oyster Place, it would double their parking on their property if you parked people in.
Oh, I see what you mean, in their property.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
thought you
more
meant off the
actively,
road.
I'm just saying, more actively manage the parking. Yeah, and certainly the bridge abutment, and it's unclear. I don't think people in general agree about who owns the bridge abutment.
There's no question who owns it.
I know, but I heard differing opinion today about who owns the bridge abutment. And that was also part of the agreement about how to better manage parking for employees who are fishing or managing fish farming down there. So there's some things I think that need to be made more clear at a future time. So, all that said, I will go ahead.
Anything, you have anything you need to move?
I don't think so. We just agree that I will start chasing down
Okay.
the police department and the select board about this. We are still on hold about what's going on with parking at the Hicks Bridge boat ramp. There's been no movement on that, and it's sort of, I mean, we're peripherally involved because this is actually more of a select board issue, and I know the town administrator is very busy with really other big issues. So I'm not sure what we can do to try to move that ahead. The last we've heard is that they may be willing to give us or sell us an easement, but they did not want to sign a temporary licensing agreement acknowledging that the town took all liability. So it's unclear. I mean, I expect that this would pass at town meeting, the idea of the easement, but it would be nice not to have to wait until then, because it continues to be a dangerous situation for people entering and exiting the boat ramp section. So I will try to be of some assistance to the town administrator to move that along. Do we have, that is all I have. Do we have any minutes available for approval?
To you?
Oh, that was
Please.
kind of late. I did not print them.
I sent them to you like last week.
Oh, those, huh. Well, no, we don't have any minutes available for printing.
Okay.
That's okay. There'll be
Till
another
next
meeting.
time.
Yep. We need to, does anyone have any other business? This, out by 5.
That's why I brought my phone.
Other business? Other business? No other business. So we now move on to scheduling another meeting. How about, we're doing it on Tuesdays. What is that about? The 24th would work for me, and it occurs to me, given these concerns about parking, it would be good to move ahead and try to have another meeting quickly. How does that work for people? 24th at 4? Because the next week I may be away.
West Coast?
Hmm?
West Coast?
No, but it's unclear. So 4 o'clock on the 24th?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Great. So we need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
That down. And we have a second. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.